Imagine sitting in a quiet studio, watching your ex-husband apologize on a screen, knowing every word coming out of his mouth is too little and far too late. Imagine watching him finally say, "I'm sorry," after decades of silence, cruelty, and dismissal, only to realize he still doesn't get it. That's the moment Kody Brown found herself in during Sister Wives Season 20 Tell-All Part 3, and what unfolded next wasn't just reality television. It was something far more raw, far more revealing, and far more uncomfortable than Kody Brown ever expected. As the footage begins to roll, Kody sits beside host Sukanya Krishnan, relaxed but alert, watching Kody's so-called apology tour play out on the screen in front of her. By now, viewers know the setup. Kody has spent the season moving from one ex-wife to the next, carefully filmed meetings designed to show growth, remorse, and emotional maturity. First Janelle, awkward but controlled. Then Kody, with her new husband David sitting right there, a silent reminder that Kody no longer holds power over her life. And now, finally, Meri, the first wife, the longest marriage, the woman who waited 32 years for a moment like this. Kody knows Meri well enough to understand what's at stake. They aren't close anymore. They haven't been for years. Their lives diverged, their bond eroded, and whatever sisterhood once existed dissolved under the weight of jealousy, competition, and survival inside a broken system. Kody didn't invite Meri to her wedding. They don't talk regularly. They don't pretend otherwise. And yet, as Kody watches Meri sit across from Kody, something in her posture changes. Because she recognizes that look, the stillness, the quiet resolve of a woman who has reached the end of her tolerance. The meeting starts the way Kody always starts these conversations, controlled, cautious, rehearsed. He says an apology is needed, admits the relationship was toxic, and claims responsibility without actually touching the harm he caused. "I apologize that I was toxic to you," he says, carefully placing the damage in the past tense, as if toxicity were a phase he simply grew out of. It's subtle, but it's classic Kody. Acknowledgement without accountability. Regret without repair. Then he does what he always does. He pivots. "What do you want me to apologize for?" he asks, as if the burden is now on Meri to educate him on 3 decades of pain. He follows it with a line that lands like a quiet insult. "Your apology is welcome if you want to give one." In a matter of seconds, the man who came to apologize has repositioned himself as the injured party. Kody shifts in her seat. She's seen this move before. She lived inside it for years. And then Kody crosses the line he doesn't even realize exists. He brings up Meri's friends. He tells her, calmly but firmly, that he wants her to ask them to stop talking about him, to stop criticizing him, to stop defending her. It's framed as a boundary, but it isn't. It's a demand. A demand that Meri once again prioritizes comfort over her own support system. What Kody doesn't understand, or refuses to understand, is that these friends are the reason Meri is sitting there with a straight back and steady voice. Jen and Brandy were there when he wasn't. They listened when he dismissed her. They validated her when he gaslit her. They told her she wasn't crazy, selfish, or difficult for wanting respect. And Kody hates that, because nothing threatens control like clarity. Earlier in the season, Kody openly admitted that he confronted Meri about her friends, telling her they needed to shut their mouths. He said it casually, almost proudly, then acted confused about why she took it personally. That pattern is familiar too. Hurt someone deeply, then question their reaction. Attack their allies, then call it honesty. Demand silence, then label it peacekeeping. So when Kody brings it up again during what is supposed to be an apology, something in Meri finally snaps. Not loudly, not dramatically, but decisively. She looks at him, steady and unflinching, and says the words he's never allowed her to finish before. "You're not going to shut me down anymore." Kody's eyes widen. A smile begins to form before she can stop it. Because she knows exactly how hard that sentence is to say to someone who has controlled the narrative of your life for decades. Meri continues, explaining that when someone is treated badly, the people who love them will defend them. That if Kody doesn't like what her friends say, maybe he should examine why they're saying it. And then she delivers the line that changes everything. If he attacks her friends, she will defend them every time. Christine lets out a laugh, half shock, half joy. She covers her mouth, but the pride is unmistakable. Meri was great, she says, unable to hide it. That was awesome. There's no jealousy, no bitterness, just recognition. One survivor watching another finally refuse to be diminished. And in that moment, the apology tour quietly collapses. Because once Kody attacked Meri's support system, the apology stopped being about healing and became what it always was, an attempt to control the story. Christine sees it instantly. Once he started talking about her friends, she says, the conversation was over.
And she's right.
You cannot apologize for harm while simultaneously trying to silence the people who named that harm out loud. What makes the moment hit harder is the history behind it. Meri married Kody at 20 years old, believing in plural marriage, believing in him, believing she would build a full life inside that family. Instead, she spent decades watching him pull away, emotionally abandon her, stop being intimate, and eventually admit he never loved her. She was made to feel defective for infertility, punished financially for having only one child, and told repeatedly that her pain was a misunderstanding rather than a reality. Every time Meri tried to speak, Kody shut her down. Every time she questioned the system, she was labeled difficult. Every time she sought reassurance, she was given just enough hope to stay trapped. And Christine knows this pattern intimately. She lived it too. For 25 years, she was told her feelings were wrong, her needs were excessive, her unhappiness was her own fault. Leaving didn't come easily for either of them. It came after decades of being conditioned to doubt themselves. That's why Christine's reaction isn't about friendship. It's about shared experience. She isn't cheering because she and Meri are close. She's cheering because she recognizes the courage it takes to finally stop playing along. As the footage ends, it becomes painfully clear that Kody didn't come to apologize. He came to be absolved. He wanted validation, forgiveness, and silence, all without real change. And Meri refused to give it to him.
Calmly, clearly,
without apology. And that refusal, small as it might seem on the surface, carries the weight of 32 years. Because this wasn't just Meri speaking up in one conversation. This was Meri rewriting the ending of a story where she had been told, over and over again, that her voice didn't matter. And for the first time, Kody couldn't talk over her. What Kody never anticipated was that Meri's refusal wouldn't just end their conversation. It would expose everything he had spent years trying to bury. Because once Meri defended her friends, the spotlight shifted away from Kody's performance and straight onto the system that allowed him to control the narrative for decades. And suddenly, the pieces viewers had questioned for years started snapping into place. Those friends Kody wanted silenced weren't random outsiders. They were witnesses. They were the people who saw Meri behind closed doors after the cameras shut off and the family meetings ended. Jen Sullivan and Brandy didn't just offer emotional support. They offered perspective, and that was dangerous. Because perspective dismantles manipulation faster than anger ever could. Jen, in particular, had been standing beside Meri through some of the darkest chapters of her life. The catfishing scandal, the quiet isolation, the years when Kody publicly stated he didn't love Meri, didn't want intimacy with her, and had no interest in fixing the marriage, yet still expected her loyalty. Jen didn't excuse it. She named it. And that naming mattered more than Kody ever realized. When season 20 revealed that Meri contributed equally to the family fund, yet watched that money go toward other children's college educations while her own child, Leon, received no such support, it was Jen who said out loud what Meri had likely been conditioned not to say. You paid equally. You paid equally. Simple words. Devastating clarity. Because suddenly, the imbalance wasn't emotional speculation, it was documented reality. For years, Meri had been told that her resentment was imagined, that she was overly sensitive, that she misunderstood how things worked. But when someone from the outside confirms what you've always felt, the spell breaks. And Kody knew that. That's why he wasn't angry at lies. He was angry at truth. Abusers don't fear confrontation nearly as much as they fear corroboration. One voice can be dismissed. Multiple voices telling the same story? That's a threat. Christine understood this immediately. She had lived through her own version of isolation, watching Kody prioritize Robin, withdraw affection, and frame Christine's unhappiness as personal failure. She remembered what it felt like to finally hear someone say, "No, you're not crazy. This is real." That's why watching Meri defend her friends hit so hard. Because Meri wasn't just protecting them, she was protecting herself. And that's when the moment transformed from reality TV drama into something far more unsettling for Kody. Because Meri wasn't emotional. She wasn't reactive. She wasn't pleading. She was calm. And calm is terrifying when someone expects submission. Christine's reaction became the emotional anchor of the scene because she wasn't just watching Meri stand up to Kody. She was watching an alternate version of herself, one she wished she'd found sooner. That's why the joy on her face wasn't petty. It wasn't about revenge. It was relief. Relief that someone else finally escaped the same psychological maze. What makes this even more powerful is the distance between Christine and Meri. They aren't friends. They don't call each other. They don't vacation together. Christine didn't invite Meri to her wedding. And yet, none of that mattered in this moment. Because shared trauma creates a language that doesn't require closeness. Christine didn't need proximity to understand exactly what Meri was doing. She recognized it instantly. That recognition is what viewers connected to. Social media exploded not just because Meri stood her ground, but because Christine celebrated it without trying to rewrite history. She didn't pretend they were suddenly close. She didn't suggest reconciliation. She simply acknowledged strength when she saw it. And for many viewers, that felt more authentic than any forced sisterhood narrative the show had ever sold. This moment also forced viewers to confront something uncomfortable about the sister wives dynamic itself. The show was marketed as a story of shared love and unity, but what it actually depicted for years was competition, for affection, for resources, for validation from a man who couldn't provide enough of any of it. Christine admitted it herself. They were married to a man who was a lot of work. And when one person consumes that much emotional energy, there's very little left for genuine connection between the women. Meri wasn't difficult in a vacuum. She was surviving in a structure that rewarded silence and punished dissent. Her jealousy, defensiveness, and prickliness weren't character flaws. They were symptoms. Symptoms of being the first wife who watched her husband fall in love again and again while her own marriage withered in public view. Christine saw that. She lived alongside it. She saw how Meri's feelings were dismissed from the very beginning. Janelle marrying Kody after being married to Meri's brother. The plan to schedule Janelle's wedding on Meri's anniversary. The casual dismissal of Meri's pain as inconvenience. These weren't small things. They were early warnings. And they set the tone for decades to come. So when Christine didn't invite Meri to her wedding years later, it wasn't cruelty. It was honesty. Their paths no longer aligned. And both women accepted that. No drama. No public feud. Just distance. But distance doesn't erase understanding. And in that tell-all moment, understanding mattered more than friendship ever could. Kody, meanwhile, sat in that conversation expecting a different outcome. He expected gratitude for showing up. He expected acknowledgement for saying sorry out loud. He expected Meri to meet him halfway the way she always had before. What he didn't expect was resistance without rage, boundaries without bitterness. A woman who no longer needed him to validate her experience. And that's when the real failure of the apology tour became impossible to ignore. Because Kody's apologies followed the same pattern every single time. With Christine, he apologized, but then insisted on rewriting history right in front of her new husband. With Janelle, he apologized, but immediately justified his behavior and blamed her reactions. With Meri, he apologized, but demanded silence from her support system. Different women. Same formula. Apology, followed by conditions. Regret, followed by control. Accountability, followed by defensiveness. This wasn't growth. It was repetition. And Meri saw it. Christine saw it. Viewers saw it. What Kody wanted was to be seen as the bigger person without actually changing. He wanted closure without discomfort, forgiveness without repair. He wanted to walk away with a cleaner image while leaving the harm intact. But Meri didn't give him that gift. She refused to play her assigned role one last time. And in doing so, she unintentionally delivered the most devastating critique of Kody's behavior the show has ever aired. Not through yelling, not through insults, but through refusal. Refusal to be shut down. Refusal to silence her friends. Refusal to validate a performance. By the time the footage ended, it was clear the apology tour hadn't healed anything. But it had revealed something important.
Kody hadn't changed.
The women had. And once that truth settled in, there was no way to unseen it. To truly understand why Meri's words landed with such force, you have to step away from the tell-all couch and travel backward through time, through 32 years of moments that never made the highlight reel, through silences that were mistaken for peace, and through compromises that slowly erased her sense of self. What looked like a calm boundary in that conversation was actually the final result of decades of conditioning being dismantled, piece by painful piece. Meri married Kody in 1990, barely 20 years old, full of belief, not just in him, but in the structure they were building. Plural marriage, she thought, meant shared purpose, shared sacrifice, shared love. What she didn't know was that being the first wife often means becoming the emotional foundation while everyone else builds upward. When Janelle joined the family 3 years later, Meri told herself the discomfort was temporary. When Christine joined soon after, she told herself jealousy was something she needed to work through. She internalized the struggle instead of questioning the system, because that's what loyalty looked like. Then came infertility. Month after month, year after year, Meri tried to conceive again and again, watching the other wives welcome children while she waited. She smiled at baby showers. She helped raise kids who weren't biologically hers. She swallowed grief quietly because she didn't want to be seen as resentful. And when she miscarried in 2007, something in the marriage broke that never healed. That was around the time Kody stopped being intimate with her, though he didn't tell her that outright. He let her believe it was temporary. That hope kept her tethered. Hope can be a prison when it's never meant to be fulfilled. When Sister Wives began airing in 2010, the cracks were already there, but the cameras gave Kody something new, an audience. His courtship and marriage to Robyn played out publicly, and Meri was asked to participate in the narrative that this was good for the family. She even legally divorced Kody so he could adopt Robyn's children, a sacrifice framed as noble and selfless. What wasn't shown was how that decision further destabilized Meri's position, not just emotionally, but financially and symbolically. She was no longer even legally connected to the man she had married first. Then came the surrogate storyline. Robyn offered to carry a child for Meri, a gesture that appeared generous on the surface and devastating underneath. It created hope where none should have existed. Years later, when Meri finally agreed to IVF, Kody refused. In hindsight, he admitted he never wanted more children with her anyway. That revelation recontextualized everything. The offer, the delay, the false hope. It wasn't a misunderstanding. It was a prolonged emotional bait-and-switch. By the time the catfishing scandal happened in 2015, Meri was already profoundly alone inside her marriage. The family treated the situation as a moral failure on her part rather than a symptom of abandonment. Instead of asking why she was vulnerable, they asked why she wasn't stronger. Instead of recognizing loneliness, they punished it. And Kody used the incident as justification to withdraw even further, publicly stating he wasn't attracted to her and didn't love her, yet still expecting her to remain loyal. That's the version of Meri viewers often forgot. The woman who stayed after being told she wasn't wanted. The woman who kept showing up to family meetings where she was tolerated, not cherished. The woman who was told to wait, to try harder, to be patient, while the man she married invested fully in another relationship. Christine watched all of this unfold in real time. She saw the way Meri was sidelined, dismissed, and emotionally starved. she also lived her own version of it. That's why the tell-all moment resonated so deeply. It wasn't just about one conversation. It was about recognizing a lifetime of quiet endurance finally reaching its limit. And then there's Robyn. It's impossible to separate Meri's awakening from Robyn's role in the family, even if Robyn insists she doesn't understand why Meri pulled away. Robyn positioned herself as Meri's ally for years, claiming confusion when the friendship dissolved. But confusion requires innocence, and the dynamics were never subtle. Robyn received the majority of Kody's time, affection, and protection. Robyn lived in the nicest home. Robyn's children were prioritized. And Meri helped pay for it literally. Meri contributed proceeds from her Las Vegas home to help Kody and Robyn purchase their Flagstaff house. She did this while living alone, while being emotionally abandoned, while being told her needs were excessive. Later, disputes arose about whether that money would ever be returned. Once again, Meri was asked to sacrifice without security. So when Robyn says she doesn't understand why Meri became distant, viewers hear something else. They hear deflection. Because benefiting from a system doesn't require designing it, but it does require acknowledging its impact. And Robyn never fully did. Christine saw that too. She didn't trust Robyn's tears. She didn't buy the confusion. And by the time Christine left, she was done pretending that favoritism was accidental. Janelle saw it as well. The joke about Kody's type, submissive, shy, pretty, wasn't really a joke. It was an observation. Meri didn't turn on Robyn suddenly. She woke up. And waking up often looks like withdrawal to people who benefited from your silence. By the time Meri received her spiritual release in 2023, she was already rebuilding, dating,
Traveling.
running businesses, surrounding herself with people who didn't require her to shrink. Jen and Brandy weren't encouraging bitterness. They were reinforcing reality. They didn't tell Meri to hate Kody. They told her she didn't have to accept his version of events anymore. That's why the apology tour failed. Because apologies only work when the person receiving them is still seeking validation from the person giving them. Meri wasn't. She didn't need Kody to understand. She needed him to stop talking over her. And when he tried anyway, she stopped him. Christine recognized that moment instantly. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't loud. It was final. And that's why it shook the audience. Because viewers weren't just watching Meri confront Kody. They were watching the death of a dynamic that had defined the show for 2 decades. The dynamic where Kody spoke and the women adjusted. The dynamic where discomfort was reframed as personal failure. The dynamic where endurance was mistaken for love. Meri didn't raise her voice. She didn't insult him. She simply refused to participate in the pattern anymore. And that refusal did more damage to Kody's image than any angry outburst ever could. By the time the tell-all aired, viewers weren't debating sides anymore. They were recognizing patterns. They saw the same conditional apologies, the same defensiveness, the same inability to truly listen. And they saw 3 women respond in 3 different ways, all of them choosing themselves. Christine set boundaries. Janelle disengaged. Meri stood firm. Different paths. Same destination. Freedom. And once that freedom becomes visible, there's no going back to pretending the cage was comfortable.